Welcome, everyone. Today, Lily and I will be discussing equity at risk, school choice, and the future of public education in San Antonio. An in depth review of how school choice policies, especially Senate Bill 2, are reshaping educational access and equity across our city.
This topic matters because school choice is expanding quickly in Texas, and as public funds shift toward private tuition programs, we're seeing real questions emerge about who benefits, who faces new barriers, and what this means for districts that still serve most of our students.
With that foundation, let's begin with a quick overview of what our study uncovered. To frame the discussion, our executive summary highlights major themes driving this research.
Our executive summary outlines the central issue. Senate Bill 2 redirects over $1 billion away from public schools into privately funded vouchers. This shift has created both anticipation and concern across San Antonio.
And those concerns are supported by decades of research connecting voucher expansion to segregation, unequal access, and widening opportunity gaps. Our own survey echoes that pattern. Participants pointed to information gaps, affordability issues, and transportation challenges that restrict how much choice families actually have.
There's also a clear worry about the long-term impact on public schools. Many respondents fear vouchers may undermine funding stability, particularly in high-poverty districts already stretched thin.
All of this sets the stage for understanding the broader context behind school choice in Texas. And with that in mind, our introduction helps explain why this issue has become so urgent statewide and especially here in San Antonio. Education has always been a cornerstone of opportunity, but policies like SB 2 fundamentally shift the landscape. By moving over $1 billion from public schools to private options, the state increases pressures on districts, especially those serving predominantly low income communities.
And while expanding parental option is a goal of school choice, this shift also risks widening research and access gaps, particularly for families who face persistent barriers with transportation, tuition differences, or selective admission practices.
These challenges, declining enrollment, uneven access, and funding instability, make it essential to examine how school choice affects educational equity.
To explore this, we turn to the existing research and community voices. Let's look at what the literature tells us about how school choice operates across different communities.
Our literature review shows that school choice policies affect communities differently, depending on social and economic context. Researchers consistently highlight the importance of evaluating these policies through an equity lens because access, funding, and neighborhood conditions shape how families experience school choice in real life.
Looking at enrollments, we see that public schools still educate over 95% of Texas students, and public school enrollments have actually declined slightly. This means that even with increased debate around school choice, most families continue relying on public schools, which remain the backbone of the state's education system.
Equity concerns also appear throughout the literature. Historical patterns of segregation still influence school choice outcomes, and voucher programs increasing sorting and stratification. Higher income families tend to benefit more easily, while lower income students face limitations in admissions, affordability, and transportation.
Facilities and class size also reveal important dynamics. Although private schools are often perceived as smaller and more personalized, the actual class size difference between public and private schools is minimal. Meanwhile, under-enrollment in districts like SAISD has led to underutilized facilities and even campus consolidations.
Teacher workforce stability is another major issue for high poverty districts. These schools face chronic teacher shortage and turnover, and funding declines tend to school choice intensify challenges around staffing, salaries, and job stability. This instability affects not only the teachers, but also students and overall school culture.
The broader evidence shows that school choice can expand options, but it also risks deepening inequities in districts that are already under-resourced. Ensuring fair access requires strong safeguards, equitable funding, and ongoing community engagement to support the public schools that serve most families.
Community and neighborhood dynamics reveal how these policies impact everyday experiences. Families in lower income areas often report confusion, stress, and limited access when navigating school choice options, while higher income families tend to benefit the most. Disadvantaged students encounter barriers related to admissions selectivity, transportation challenges, and overall affordability.
These conditions shape how families understand the system and make decisions, which further influences enrollment patterns and the stability of local schools. The equity concerns highlighted in the literature reflect these real world difficulties, especially for communities who rely heavily on public education. To capture real experiences across San Antonio, we began by gathering local perspectives through a survey.
To understand how San Antonio residents experience school choice, we conducted an anonymous online survey with 30 respondents. As the slide shows, our questions combined multiple choice and open-ended formats, allowing us to gather both measurable trends and personal narratives.
We also collected demographic information, such as respondents' role in education, the type of school their children attend, and their zip code. These questions helped us see how perspectives differ across neighborhoods and educational roles.
This mixed methods approach gave us a clearer picture of the lived experiences behind the policies. So with that foundation in place, let's move into what the community told us.
Our first major finding centers on information access. As the slide indicates, 72.4% of respondents believe families across San Antonio do not have equal access to school choice information. This finding alone speaks volumes about the practical limitations families face.
We also saw significant division around whether vouchers improve educational access. 34.5% believe that they do, while 37.9% disagreed. The split reflects real uncertainty about who benefits and how.
For perceived beneficiaries and coexistence, opinions were split. 24.1% said private schools benefit most, 24.1% said low income families, and 20.7% pointed to higher income families. Importantly, 48.2% believe public schools and school choice can coexist if strong policy safeguards protect funding and equity.
In underconfidence in public education, only 13.8% reported being very confident in the future of Texas public education, with concerns centered around policy instability and teacher retention.
This division becomes more apparent when we look at perceptions of public education and policy knowledge.
Although 86.2% of respondents say that they're familiar with the idea of school choice, far fewer, only 27.6%, say that they know a lot about Texas' new voucher law. That contrast reveals a significant knowledge gap.
Funding concerns also stood out. Nearly 48.3% believe vouchers will weaken public school funding, while 34.5% think the impact will be minimal. This shows that financial fears are widespread even among those who support school choice.
Taken together, these findings suggest a community that is informed but still uncertain about the direction of the state's education system. To make sense of this, we synthesized the findings into broader themes.
Our discussion highlights three major themes. First, there's clear community division. Residents understand school choice, but they disagree sharply on its outcomes and who benefits from vouchers.
Second, we saw significant sustainability concerns, especially around funding stability, staffing pressures, and the long-term health of public schools. Respondents repeatedly mentioned the fear of weakening resources in already vulnerable districts.
And third, policy understanding remains inconsistent. People know the concept of school choice, but few understand the specifics of SB2, which affects how families participate and make decisions. These themes lead directly into the larger implications of SB2 for San Antonio.
The implication of our study highlights several critical pressures emerging from expansion of school choice. One major concern is the financial strain on high-poverty districts, where funding losses can quickly affect staffing, programs, and essential services.
We also identified the risk of socioeconomic stratification, as tuition gaps and selective admissions can make it easier for middle and upper income families to take advantage of vouchers, while lower income families remain in under-resourced public schools.
Another implication is inequitable information access. Families across San Antonio do not receive the same level of guidance or clarity about school choice options, which reinforces existing opportunity gaps and limits the practical value of choice.
And finally, we see potential instability within teacher workforce, as declining enrollment and reduced funding can intensify shortages, weaken morale, and disrupt staffing across already vulnerable campuses.
Together, these implications show how expanding school choice without safeguards can deepen disparities and place additional pressures on the districts that serve the greatest number of students. Of course, every study has limitations, so we address those as well.
The slide outlines our main limitations. Our survey included 30 respondents, which provides valuable insight, but not a fully representative sample of the city.
We also face data limitations, especially with private schools where information is less accessible. And because responses were self-reported, they naturally reflect individual perspectives and varying knowledge of policy.
Finally, our study focused specifically on San Antonio, so the findings may not extend statewide. Despite these limitations, our recommendations offer practical next steps.
On this slide, we outline our 4 recommendations for action based on the findings and the needs identified across San Antonio school districts. First, we highlight the need to protect high-poverty districts, districts like SAISD, Edgewood, Harlandale, and others already operating with limited resources. Our recommendation is to implement hold harmless or weighted funding safeguards to prevent severe financial losses, especially as enrollment shifts under Senate Bill 2. Without this protection, these districts will continue to struggle with the staff shortages, under-resourced campuses, and reduced program offerings.
Next, we recommend strategies to improve public outreach. The survey showed clear gaps in information, especially in high poverty neighborhoods. Families reported that they lack clear guidance on school options, eligibility, and the voucher process. To address this, districts and policymakers should provide multilingual, neighborhood-specific communication so that families in every part of the city can access accurate and timely information.
Our third recommendation is to increase accountability for voucher schools. If taxpayer dollars are being used to support private or charter schools, there should be transparency similar to that required of public schools. This includes reporting student outcomes, admission criteria, and demographic data so we can ensure equity and understand who is being served and who is being left out.
And finally, we recommend that leaders engage local communities more intentionally. Families and educators need to be part of the implementation process. Creating advisory councils that represent diverse neighborhoods across the north, east, west, and south sides will help ensure that policy decisions are grounded in lived-in experiences and local needs. This also builds trust and keeps equity at the center of decision-making.
Together, these 4 recommendations, protecting high poverty districts, improving outreach, strengthening accountability, and engaging communities, offer a balanced approach to supporting choice while safeguarding the public schools that most San Antonio families still depend on. And this brings us to our overall conclusion.
Our conclusion summarizes the broader message. School choice may expand options, but it also carries significant risks for equity, funding, and public school stability.
As the slide states, the long-term success of Senate Bill 2 depends on ensuring expanded choice does not come at the expense of the public schools that still serve the vast majority of Texas students.
Balanced reform, grounded in equity, transparency, and community engagement, will be essential moving forward.
Thank you all for your attention and your support in our research.
We welcome any questions and look forward to discussing our findings further.
Thank you.
Thank you.